3 a.m. in the morning. I'm sitting
That's into right field. Long run for Pilar. And Pilar all out into foul territory to make the play.
Bogarts with a drive out to right field. Judge is back on it, and that one's gone.
Against all odds. Here's a high fly ball driven deep to right. Verdugo back to the pen. Leaps up. He caught it. He caught the ball. He took it back.
And I will keep on waiting for a better day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pesky podcast. My name is Robert, and today we have a special guest with us. As you guys know, I'm going to be rotating guests in and out as much as I can. Sometimes I'll be doing it alone, but I don't really like doing the podcast by myself. So with us today is another host of a podcast underneath the Amateur Hour Sports Network name, host and founder of the Fumblerooski podcast, my good friend, Adam. Adam, introduce yourself to the people.
Thanks for having me on, Robert. My name's Adam Wright. I'm the host of the Fumblerooski podcast, and we go over all things pro football related rather than pro baseball. But I certainly know a fair share of baseball stuff as well. And we are also under the Amateur Hour umbrella. So,
Yeah, and tell the people who your favorite team is.
favorite team? Patriots, Red Sox.
There we go. All right, and the people, I've said this story once or twice, but we've you and I have been to a Red Sox game together, sitting on the green monster. Potentially almost got kicked out because we decided to go down to the seats and not just stand.
Yeah, we weren't going to deal with that.
That was annoying, but I mean, you remember how that game ended, right?
Yeah, it was pretty eventful. I never thought they even had a shot at winning. It was one of those games where the bats were just dead on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came alive at the end of the game. Had a chance to tie it up. Is that correct?
Yep. They were down 2-1. And then
late.
JD hit it off the green monster. Whoever the left fielder was threw an absolute missile to home to get out. I think it was Michael Chavis.
I thought that was going to be gone for a minute. I thought we were going to experience a walk-off.
I did too. That ball was like 30 feet away from us. We just looked over and banged off the wall. I was pissed. I was ready to go over there and just mob somebody to get that baseball. But
There.
all right, let's get into the news for today. For our people out there, for YouTube, you get to see us as is every single week, twice a week now, because we're recording every Wednesday and Sunday. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get to see me and a various amount of guests every time. Spotify and iTunes, you guys always get to hear me twice a week now. Plus, like I said, all the guests that we have, make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss any of our uploads. With that, follow the Instagram at Pesky Podcast and check out Amateur Hour Sports Network and the website so you can see all the times that not only the Fumblerooski podcast, but our third podcast, the Two Compass podcasts, go up and running every single week. All right, Adam, anything you want to say to the people before we get started?
No. Let's get this show on the road.
All right. So, first thing is there was a highly coveted free agent out there from Japan this year, and his deadline for being able to come into the MLB expired. Named Tomoyuki Sugano. Now, a lot of Red Sox fans were really, really interested in getting this guy on the team, but the biggest thing is there were two reasons they didn't. Well, three. One was because they didn't want to offer anybody a 4-year contract, and that's what Sugano wanted. One, they didn't want to pay anybody upwards of $40 million, like Sugano got offered from his Japanese team, the Yamorui, something like that. Giants gave him a 4-year, $40 million deal. And the third reason we didn't get him is because he didn't want to play in the cold. I mean, you can't blame him for that. And Ari and I talked about this on episode 43, right? Just buy a damn winter jacket. All right, you and I have lived in New England almost our entire lives, right?
Yeah, I did see some of the offers that he got were from teams that were more up north, like in New York and in
Blue Jays.
and Toronto and
Hey,
Boston. So those were all the teams that were rumored for him to go to.
there was one more, and if this team got him, I probably would have died. The Padres wanted him too.
Now I want the Red Sox to make some sort of splash, at least something, just to give us something to watch for next year. I'm not 100% on board with this analytics and let's just go completely down like this deep tanking rebuild mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the thing, though.
But the issue is, I think these players that come from, especially from Japan, they're very hit or miss, and I'm not sure if it's not the right move to commit 4 years and $40 million a year to a pitcher who we don't
Not
even
$40
know.
million a year, $40 million total.
40 million to because I was gonna say that was still.
We're not talking about Bryce Harper, Mike Trout numbers. No, that's not what's happening. Just regular $10 million a year.
So 4 years, 40 million.
Yeah, that was the contract he signed from his team back in Japan, but that's around what other teams were offering him.
Okay, so that's still. I'd still say because he's from Japan, I think the competition there isn't the best, and the baseball, as we know, is a little bit smaller. So it's just the game is much different. So you can look down the line in the history of players coming to Japan. It's very hit or miss. It's either you're going to get Ichiro Suzuki or you're going to get what's that pitcher's name who they got in 2007? Daisuke.
Daisuke? Oh, you're not. No. You're not going to sit here and talk bad about Daisuke.
Daisuke?
Right? I will fight you in 3 weeks if that's.
He had one good year, then he got hurt.
That's all we needed him for was one good year. And one good year led to a championship.
I'd like for more than that if you're going to commit to him for so long.
He came in and he got the job done. All right, injuries are something that can happen to any player. But Daisuke came in, he got the job done.
Tanaka's
50-50. It depends on who you ask. Obviously, us Red Sox fans are going to say we hate Tanaka. He's looking to maybe move into a different direction because last I heard on the news for Wednesday, Yankees are all in on LeMahieu, and they're going to and if that means letting go of guys like Garner and Tanaka, they're going to do it just get LeMahieu back. So he might be gone, but in terms of his career, I'd say it was better. It was more of a hit than it was a miss, but
yeah, if you're the New York Yankees, you might want to commit more to pitching than to their bats. Their offense is fine. I think it's always been in recent years. It's been their starting pitching that's needed help.
yeah, just imagine paying Giancarlo Stanton and Garrett Cole $60 million a year to do that.
Right, their bullpens always seem to be good. It just seems to be that their starting pitching has always needed some help.
They've lost almost all their pitchers this year. Their bullpen has been gutted this year, and they needed guys like Garrett Whitlock. Garrett Whitlock was one of their top prospects, but they decided not to put him on the 40-man. So you know what? We'll take him. We'll take Whitlock on the team. Why not? All right, and I got to interview him. I'm so excited to see what this dude can do for our team. But if you look at, by the way, you mentioned Daisuke. Who was the other one? Koji Uehara, hit or miss?
Koji Uehara? Well, in the beginning of his career in the MLB, it was miss. But then he came to the Red Sox, and then for a couple seasons, he was, holy crap, he turned into Mariano Rivera. Awesome. And it was like he could only throw his fastball like 79 miles an hour rolling by guys. I was like, dude, how is he doing this?
Man, I loved Koji. Wait, he was on the 2013 team, I believe? He was somewhere around 2013.
2013 and 2015. 2016, I think he was on, but he wasn't
He was a Met.
The player.
He was a Met.
Oh,
Yep.
so it was just those 3 years. So I think it was 2015 was the year where he kind of fell off. 2013 and 14 were the years where he was just lights out.
Mm-hmm. No, I loved Koji on this team. Hold on, let me look, because I know he was in Boston from 2013 to 2015, to 2016. I'm sorry, We had a 41-year-old Koji on the team in 2016. What are we doing? And they went to Chicago to finish his career.
It was 26. I knew it.
Yeah,
So
and
that was the year where he was. Then he went to Chicago. Yeah, now I remember.
yeah, 2013, he was just a straight-up god. At age 38, right? 4-1 record with a 1.09 ERA. Played 73 games.
Yeah, he was lights out for like his first 2-3 years of his career in Boston. Then his last year, he kind of fell off. Then he went to the Cubs. Now, I lost track of what he was doing there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
The Cubs, he sucked.
Playing. What's that?
I mean, the Cubs, he sucked. I mean, he was 42. Like, what are you going to expect from him?
Well, he only throws at 79, so you could expect at least something.
All right, here's going back to Sugano. This is the main problem that I have with it. All right, this guy had a 1.97 ERA, 14-2 record as part of his Japanese team, right? And the Red Sox are like, no, we're not going to pay you $10 million annually, right? But then you look at a guy like Diego Padres, and the Red Sox are expected to sign him sometime in the very near future. It's looking like it's almost a done deal, right? And his contract is 3 years, somewhere in the $36 to $42 million range. So why are we, if you're willing to pay a guy like that for 3 years, then why not be willing to pay a guy like Sugano 4 years?
I think it's more because, like I said, the RYYZN is a little more of a sure thing. You know, he's been in the league for a few years. He's a seasoned veteran. He's a stable starter that they need. They were starting guys in the rotation this past year who we'd be like, wait, what? Who's that?
Yeah, my boy Robert Stock.
Wasn't there a player who hadn't started in the pros in like 2 years?
No.
They started him.
Listen. There's a legend of a man named Mike Kickham. And if R is listening right now, he's yelling at his computer screen. Mike Kickham is a man with beautiful flow. But Mike Kickham hadn't played a game since 2013.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
And then he came in, started a game, and pitched like 4.2 innings and had 8 strikeouts. I remember that game very vividly. That man is amazing. He ended up with like a 6.5 ERA, but, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, my point stands. They need stable starting in their rotation. They're getting Eduardo Rodriguez back.
Maybe.
They're going to get Chris Sale back at some point.
June, July.
In the near future. They need some more starting pitching to get a solid starting rotation going so that they can actually focus on the real problem at hand, which is the bullpen.
Yes.
Because once you have the starting pitching and the lineup, which I believe they already have, then we could have a competitive team on the field in a year or so.
Here's the problem though. Diego Padres, right? We played a 60-game season last year, right? So you have 5 starters. Each of those starters should get 12 games throughout the regular season, assuming that no one gets. You know how many starts or how many games Diego Padres played last year?
How many? 4.
He was out for almost the entire season due to injuries. So when you're talking about somebody who's durable and stable, if you were to say that in 2018, 2019, even 2017, right, where he played 28, 32, and 30 games, then I'd be right there with you. But, I mean, give me some recency bias here, but, last year he was 0 for 1 with a 6.5 ERA.
Yeah, you have recency bias. Dude, so I'm telling you, it was 2020. We'll just push that year aside.
We're just not gonna talk about it.
Unless this happens again, where he only plays 4 games next season, I'm gonna look at that as an outlier. Because if he's been durable for the rest of his career before then he's a player who I'm going to trust as long as the money is somewhat reasonable.
And it'll be about It's about $12 to $14 million a year. So we're talking like just under Evaldi money, and I know Evaldi got insanely, grossly overpaid. But
Yeah, but I mean, I think that contract for Odorizzi is pretty reasonable. Honestly,
I would like it.
They need a stable starter. He reminds me. He could be their Rick Porcello.
I loved Rick Porcello.
He was a stable starter for most of his career, and then there was that one year where it was just Cy Young, lights out. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. What was that, 2017?
2016.
2016. Yeah, no.
2017 was when they got Chris Sale.
It's Chris Sale, yeah. And Chris Sale was something, right? Especially in his first 2 years. Like, you could rely on him in any situation. If you were like, hey, Chris, I know you just pitched 3 days ago, but it's the 6th inning. I got no other pitchers. I need you to come in and just pitch an inning. You'd be like, screw it, whatever. You know, he was always right there.
Boy, when he comes back, when he comes back, I hope he's back to where he was. If he is,
he's not going to be, sadly.
I think he will.
No.
Seems like pitchers, when they come back from Cy Young, from Tommy John, they seem to get sort of, for the most part, return to form.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we'll see. I've never liked his frame. It felt like it was just a ticking time bomb with him. But
yeah, no, and I know we're getting very off topic, but that kind of scares me when you look at a guy who's coming up through the Red Sox organization like Tanner Houck, right? If you see Tanner Houck, he is a righty Chris Sale. Same build, same structure, same pitching formation, basically. Yes,
okay, but I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I trust the Red Sox minor league system in developing pitchers, especially after we thought.
I mean, did you see him?
Was going to be some god.
Did you see him? Have you seen Tanner Houck? Do you see how he pitched when he was up in the majors this year?
I did. I also saw Henry Owens when he was first coming up. I saw Brian Johnson when he was coming up.
Brian Johnson wasn't bad. Brian Johnson wasn't bad.
He was serviceable, but he wasn't what he was supposed to be.
You got me there, but you can't say he was bad.
I'm not saying he was bad. I'm saying
Henry Owens. We're not going to talk about. All right, we don't. Yeah, no. If you look at most of the guys, there are only 2 guys really in the pitching organization for the Red Sox right now that you could say they're close to making the MLB, and they were like brought up by the Red Sox as Brian Mata and Tanner Houck. Pivetta was traded for. Seabold was traded for. Whitlock was taken out of the Rule 5 draft. All these other guys we got were traded for.
I mean, I still think they need to restock that farm system like heavily. There's really not much in there.
Mm-hmm. No, well, not really. You can name me any position, and we got some young guy that's willing to take the ropes. Are they great right now? No, but can they?
Was back in the 2013, 2014 days when it was absolutely stocked to the brim.
I thought it was 2012, and then 2013 they gutted it to get that team.
They didn't gut it to get that team.
Oh, okay. I don't know. We were only like 14 back then, so.
Really gutted their farm system back. It was 2015 going into that regular season. Then
yeah. Trying to get Poppy's last stride. Yeah.
But it was, I look at when Dombrowski came there and he actually like turned those prospects into starting players in the MLB. He traded them for players. If he came earlier, it probably could have been better because that farm system was a lot better before he got there.
Mm-hmm.
If he came a couple years prior, they probably could have been in contention a lot earlier and a lot longer.
But then we would have had to deal with that, just like last season, we had to deal with that absolutely terrible season much earlier.
Possibly.
Yeah, Dombrowski's that guy. Dombrowski's that guy you bring in for 2 years. He got your entire farm system, gets you a championship team, gets you 1 championship, and then you suck. Watch, that's what's going to happen with the Phillies. The Phillies are going to win 1 championship by 2023.
They could have won more. They could have won more championships if he came earlier. They had their farm system was that good.
Oh, the team
remember Garen Cicchini?
Garen Cicchini. Oh, that name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Third baseman for the minor league system for the Red Sox. He was supposed to be amazing. He didn't because they didn't trade him. Sean Coyle, first baseman. He was supposed to be a big guy. They didn't do anything. Sam Travis, they didn't do anything.
Hey, Sam Travis was decent.
These were all high-end prospects who wound up being complete busts, and they never traded them.
Yeah, you're right. But if you look at the Red Sox farm system right now, you can name almost any position besides maybe second base, and we got some guys to swing over there, and it's loaded. Right? First base, you got Dahlbeck, who's still very young. Shortstop, you have Jeter Downs. Third, you have Cassis. Outfield, you have Marcus Wilson. You have Jimenez. What's his first name? No, not Jimenez. Jason Rosario. You have Marcus Wilson. You have Michael Geddes. You have all these guys that can swing in and not forget Jarren Duran. Right? You have all these guys that can swing in and potentially be great guys, or at least good guys to put around your top guys that are going to stay here for a while. You know, this team, we don't have a catcher prospect, we don't have a second base prospect, but we got a decent amount of guys that could swing up.
They have some pieces. I just, if they're gonna rebuild into a contending team and say 5 years down the road, they're gonna need a lot more than what they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. We just need a little bit more star power. We don't necessarily need role players. We need star power. That's what we need.
Right.
But
a Mookie Betts type player would be real nice. But, they decided,
you're right.
Let's ship this guy out.
Mm-hmm. All right. So to get around the MLB a little bit, right, we have two major news stories that broke in the past 3 days since I did the Wednesday podcast. First, the Mets somehow got good, and I don't like it. I don't want to talk about it.
Or do you think they just got a good player? Because that's what we said about the Phillies a couple seasons ago. They signed Bryce Harper. They got good.
No, I never said that about if you're sitting here comparing Francisco Lindor to Bryce Harper, I will kick you from this call. And I'll do the rest of this podcast by myself.
Bryce Harper's won MVPs before.
Bryce Harper won an MVP at age 21 when he was good, and then he became complacent. And then he got his big contract, and then he became even more complacent.
All I'm trying to say is you can't really jump to the conclusions that a team is going to be good because they get one player. They got two players. They got two. Like Carrasco. With a couple good players, they miss the playoffs all the time. It's the same thing with hockey. It's just the nature of the sport. When you have the best player in the game, teams miss the playoffs all the time. Whereas it's different in the NFL or the NBA, where you get some star power. Well, I mean, in the NFL, it depends on which position the star power is on. But, when you in the MLB, it's completely different. It really does take a team, a whole lineup of good hitters, a whole rotation of good starting pitchers, a whole bullpen full of solid, reliable relief pitchers. Just getting Francisco Lindor doesn't make them great. Doesn't make them great yet. I do love it. I love what they did, and what they got Carlos Carrasco as well. So it's a great trade for them, and they didn't give up much.
Yeah, no, they didn't give up. They gave up Ahmed Rosario, who's looking like to be a promising shortstop, and he's very young. Andres Jimenez, who, once again, another youngish player who can potentially make an impact sooner or later. Josh Wolf, who was a pretty good pitcher out of their farm system, who's looking like he might, I think he's 21, something around there, and he's already almost at the top of the list for prospects for the Mets. And then Isaiah Green, who is just another kind of lower prospect coming in there. So, they got a decent overhaul for him, but obviously the Mets won the trade. And I'm going to say it. Let me see how many wins the Mets got last year. How many wins did they get? Probably like 31?
Really? They were a playoff team?
I don't think they were a playoff team. They weren't a playoff team. I know that. They won 26.
26. So that's
All right, so it's close.
that's not playoff caliber, but that's respectable.
But I mean, if you look at this team's roster, right? Let me pull it up. Yeah, I'm calling it, this team is at least a second round team. Second round
team,
minimum.
See, I just think, look, I love the deal. I love that they got a starting pitcher and some star power out of it. I just look at Francisco Lindor in recent years rather than earlier on in his career when he was absolutely killing it. And he's still been good. I think he's a little overhyped. This past season, he only batted .258, 8 home runs. And whereas
it was a downward season for him, but at the very least, for the first time, he was healthy throughout the season.
Right.
You know, that's why
I do look at seasons before this, and while his batting average has fallen a little bit, it seems that his power has gone up a little bit too. He's hitting the 30s for home runs for 3 straight seasons, 38 in one of the seasons. It was unbelievable. So this guy, he's a power hitter. He can hit for a decent average. I don't think he's one of the better players in baseball, but he's certainly
I think he's top 6.
That you could. For what?
I think he's top 6.
Top 6?
I think 3 guys I can easily put above him are Mookie, Trout, and Yelich. And then I'd have to look more into other guys, but those would be 3 I'd put above him, but I wouldn't put very many more above him. But with this Mets roster, right? You got guys like Dylan Betances, who I never knew was 6'8". Damn. Jesus Familia, who's a good relief pitcher out of the pen. Steven Matz, Porcello, Michael Wacha, who's decent. Jacob deGrom. They also got Trevor May, Wilson Ramos, Pete Alonso, Robinson Cano, who's goodbye. Jeff McNeil, who's really good.
They still have Syndergaard?
Yes. Why don't they say Syndergaard on here? I don't know. And then for outfield, they got Michael Conforto. And yeah, this team is a good team. It's good. We'll get into them in a minute once we hit our final topic. But big news came out this yesterday that a former Angels clubhouse attendant, his name's Bubba Harkins, files a lawsuit against the Angels and Major League Baseball, accusing them of making him basically a scapegoat. He was fired last March because he was helping teams and players use foreign substances to pitch. And you got the names of all the guys that were involved, right?
Yeah, so there was players like Garrett Cole, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Felix Hernandez. So these are all pitchers who in the past decade have been some of the best in baseball. Now, it's nothing new hearing players looking for an edge in baseball. We hear of players doctoring the baseball all the time, or even position players doing something.
Too much fines
So that's nothing new,
like
but I wonder when they're going to stop, when they're going to actually start punishing players. Because you look at, even with some serious scandals like the Astros scandal, no players were actually punished. It was mostly just management, the front office, and a few people here, workers here and there. But
yeah,
there was
the players
and the organization in general. But there was no players individually who really got any punishment.
Yeah, no, the players need to stop being compliant with it. They need to step up and say, look, we're going to win. We're going to win fairly. We're not going to win with any of this BS cheating. All right. And obviously the major leagues have been really cracking down on PEDs more than anything, a.k.a. Robinson Cano out for another full season suspension, which I find kind of funny. But, I mean, the only times people really get caught or when they're stupid. All right, we need to make sure that's not the case, because if any player / coach has like the slightest idea of how to keep something covered up, then they get away with it. For example, Michael Pineda. You remember that whole thing against the Red Sox?
Yeah.
He was caught because he was stupid. He wasn't caught because, somebody was an expert and saw it. He was caught because he got away with it once and said, hey, if I got away with it once, it doesn't matter that the media completely blew it up, right? I can get away with it again. And he tried, and he failed because he was stupid.
Yeah, I don't know how you could do that. Cheating against the team who you already cheated against, and
like 2 weeks earlier.
Suspicions earlier on in the year. I believe it was on his wrist the last time. Then it was on his neck, in clear, in plain sight. I think even the guys from Nesson were zooming in on it, and they're like, I think it's bad.
Yeah, no, the MLB just needs to get stricter rules about this stuff. All baseballs need to be inspected before every game, which they are. But I think pitchers need to, how like in the UFC before fights, they'll go up to the ref, and the ref will check them out and make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
Right. They need to have more of that. They got the PEDs and steroids underneath control. Everyone takes random drug tests whenever possible, so people can get tested for PEDs. But now we need to start, checking what these players are doing to make sure. They need to, when they either start the game, the starting pitcher or a relief pitcher comes in, the first thing they need to do before they start even warming up is go up to the home plate umpire, and the home plate umpire just needs to go through a complete check. Obviously, we're not like strip searching anybody, but check their arms, check their glove, check their hat, check like the back of their neck, anything like that could potentially have something on it.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're going to have the desire to actually crack down on that, because I wonder how big of a deal doctoring these baseballs for them really is. If they just, because it's good for business for them to have these star level pitchers in the league and star position players, and when they get the edges that they need, then they're some of the best players we've ever seen. And I wonder if the league will have a desire to really further crack down on it.
Yes. And here's the thing, and this might lead to Garrett Cole's kind of really bad season this year, right? He sent a message to Bubba Haskins in 2019 in January, and it read, "Hey Bubba, it's Garrett Cole. I was wondering if you could help me out with this sticky situation." Winky face emoji. "We don't see you until May, but we have some road games in April that are in cold weather places. The stuff I had last year seizes up when it gets cold."
Yeah.
If that's not damning evidence, then I don't know what is. Yeah, obviously this guy Haskins needs to be suspended from his job, because obviously he was the main culprit of it. But these players need to own up and take some punishment too. Yeah, I was doctoring baseballs to help get a better grip. I know that was wrong, and I'll be willing to take my suspension. They serve their suspension, then they're back in like nothing happened. It's that simple.
Do you think they will, though?
Do I think the players will?
You see players' names like Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, players whose names were tarnished because of cheating, that if they do anything like that, and Alex Rodriguez, they do something like that and their name is tarnished forever, nobody's going to take them seriously ever again.
Yeah, but the thing with those players is those were all-time greats. I wouldn't necessarily consider Garrett Cole an all-time great, and obviously those guys that you mentioned are some of the greatest pitchers in baseball today. But
let's say we found out Justin Verlander did.
Justin Verlander was one of the guys.
Yeah.
And am I considering Justin Verlander an all-time great? In my opinion, I think in 20, 25 years, no one's going to know the name Justin Verlander.
He's going to be pretty close. He's going to be up there.
Yeah, he might. But, and this will obviously tarnish his legacy. But, Justin Verlander's like 36 now. He's going to retire sometime soon. But, when it comes to them coming back, let them serve their suspension. And then they come back and we're just like, okay, you can pitch again. Obviously, the legacy is going to be like, yes, but he was doing this. But for the time being, they're just going to be like, at least we know you're clean now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Final thing we got on the agenda for today is the power rankings. Now, this power rankings was put out before the Lindor trade. So we're going to need to make some adjustments with the Mets and the Indians. But who do you think the number one team in the MLB is?
I'd say it's still the Dodgers.
It's the Dodgers. All right, and I completely agree with that too. No question about it. That team. I mean, but there is one team that's making a run for maybe that number one spot. You know which one it is?
I'm thinking maybe the San Diego Padres.
Correct. You're already way better than I was at this. He sucked at doing these. But, yeah, with obviously acquiring Yu Darvish and Blake Snell, it gives them – would you say that's one of the best rotations in the league?
Yeah, but we've seen the Padres stack up with talent before, and they've fallen flat on their faces. So I'm gonna wait till I see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm. Now, 3 is the Yankees, which, in my opinion, that depends on if they re-sign DJ LeMahieu or not. There's good consideration that DJ is going to the Dodgers, and that would just be unfair.
Oh,
you take Justin Turner out and you put in DJ LeMahieu. Yikes.
You know what? As a Red Sox fan, I'd take the Dodgers in contention. It'll be sad to see Mookie win like 2 or 3 more rings, but I'd rather see them win championships than the Yankees.
Yankees. Yep. All day. 4 is the Braves, which, yeah, I could see it. They got some they got decent rotation. They obviously have Acuna, and they got some young guys coming up through the ranks to help them out. So I could see that. 5 is the Twins. Maybe.
They've been competitive the past few years. I just don't think I trust them.
Yeah, but they lost so many pitching. They lost so many pitchers. Jacob DeRuzi's gone. Rich Hill's gone. Trevor May's gone. Tyler Clippard. Sergio Romo. All those guys are just out. So they have to try and replace 5 different pitching spots, and that's nearly impossible to do.
Yeah, they could barely contend with what they had before. So now that they lose all their pitchers, it's going to be hard for them. I don't see them at number 5.
Yeah. White Sox is 6, and I would honestly take the White Sox over the Twins right now, especially if they go out and they get somebody like a Craig Kimbrell, maybe from the Cubs. Or they go out and take one of these buying teams or selling teams and buy somebody off of them. They might be able to do something.
Yeah, that's realistic.
Mm-hmm. Then it goes A's, then Mets. Obviously, I would now move with getting Lindor and Carrasco. I'm not putting the Mets at 4.
You're not?
I'm going to put them at 4 and not 8.
Oh, you're going to put them at 4.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think I'm the same way as I was with the Padres, with the Mets, and I want to see it first. I think they can be competitive. They have a good team, you're right, but I want to see how good they'll be.
I get that. Then it goes Blue Jays, then Rays. Which team do you think would be better, the Blue Jays or the Rays this season?
The Rays.
I mean, I said this in my in the last episode. I was talking about the AL East and what I think if we play a full 162 games, what the records are going to be. And I had the Yankees at 87 wins, the Rays and Blue Jays both at 82 wins, Red Sox at 75, and the Orioles at like 66, because we all know the Orioles are never going to be anywhere near good for. And they got rid of, who was it? I think it was like Renato Nunez. I think they just waived. They didn't even try and trade. They just completely waived him. We can both agree the Orioles suck. They're terrible.
Yeah, we talk about the Red Sox being a few years from contention. They might be a decade.
They're at least 5 years. and that's not even close.
10 years, yeah.
11 is the Indians, which I would now put them around probably 18. They took a huge hit with this trade for now because they went young, but I would put them around 18, 19.
Yeah. I never even took them seriously when they had Lindor and Carrasco. Because Kluber hasn't been healthy for a bit. The team hasn't been performing. Now they lose these players. I think they fall further than 18, to be honest.
You think they fall further than that?
Yeah, probably into the 20s.
Jeez. Hold on a sec. Oh, that's wow. Okay. There's one more thing to talk about after this, really quick, and then we'll wrap it up. If my computer doesn't want to freeze on, my computer is very good at just randomly freezing. All right, come on. Then 12 is the Cardinals, 13 is Astros, 14 is Phillies, 15 is Cubs. And I could see all those. I see the Cubs being really big sellers at the trade deadline and maybe falling to like 22, 23.
Yeah,
there.
I'll tell you, it was fun while it lasted watching the Cubs win the World Series and be in contention. I was happy for them.
Yeah.
But they've fallen so far since then.
They just got to blow it up now. Yeah. Then it goes Reds, who are always going to be average. Marlins, who need to be higher after that insane run they had, but they're still 17. Brewers, Angels, which is sad to have Mike Trout on the 19th best team. Giants, Mariners, Nationals, then finally Red Sox at 23. And then all your teams you expect to suck. Tigers, Royals, D-backs, Rockies, Rangers, Orioles, and then finally, the Pirates are the worst team. Pirates have nothing. That team is just so sad.
Yeah. They were making the playoffs a few years in a row, a little while back.
Back when they had Garrett Cole.
The early 2010s, then the team kind of fell apart. They never made it past the wild card round. Or was it that? No, they made the divisional round, didn't they, in 2013?
I can't remember. That's way far back. I don't remember.
I believe they did. That was about the furthest they got. Once the Cubs came along, the Cardinals stayed good in that division, and they were just never. It was like they were the little brother in their division. They could just never get past those teams.
Yeah. So finally, the last thing I want to talk about is there's now a new favorite to sign my boy. You know who my boy is.
Who's your boy?
JBJ.
Jackie Bradley. Yeah.
There's a new favorite to sign him, and this just came out within the past day or so that these rumors really started to spread. Can you guess which team that was? It was the Astros and the Blue Jays, and now it's completely focused on another team.
The Yankees.
The Mets.
Wow.
The Mets still have about $20 million before they hit the salary cap. And it's looking like JBJ, looking like they're done with trying to get Springer. Because Springer wants a 5-year, $150 million deal. And that's not it. That's not it.
Good seasons, but
yep.
It's kind of the same with Jackie Bradley.
Yeah, the Blue Jays reportedly offered him a 5-year, like 120 or 115. But that's still way too much. But JBJ, it's looking like the Mets are 100% focused on him and him alone. And I don't want that. I mean,
I've always liked JBJ to begin with, but I've always thought that he was such an overhyped player. Like,
wow.
He played elite defense. He's had some good at bats every now and then. He's made some clutch hits. Especially during the ALCS back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But he just can't hit, and he'll have this small the only reason I feel that he was in the big leagues, that he stayed in there, was because he would have these small patches of time where he just couldn't miss the ball, He was just one of the better all-around players in the game, and then he would just go completely cold. And that's what would keep him in the majors, was just the fact that he would have these small patches where he just couldn't miss the ball.
Yeah, he's
one of the most inconsistent hitters I've ever seen.
That is an understatement, but yes.
Yeah.
JBJ had like what I like to call the 2-month syndrome. All right, 1 month. All right. He would be completely cold throughout the entire season, but there would be that stretch of like 1 month in like late June to middle of August, somewhere in that time span. He would have 1 month straight where he would bat like 400, and then after that he'd go back to batting 200, and that was the story of Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yep, and the defense would be elite.
Defense would be elite all the time. Obviously, that's how he makes his money.
And you'd get all the delusional Red Sox fans saying, "Oh, he's one of the better all-around players in the game."
No, he's a Gold Glove outfielder, below average hitter, average speed for a center fielder.
One of the best outfielders in the game defensively. Cannot hit. He has decent speed. That's about it.
Yes. All right. Last question. Then we got one more thing to talk about. So, as Red Sox, right, we've had a load of great outfielders to come through the organization, right? We had Johnny Damon. We had Jacoby, my boy. We had JBJ. We've had all these great defensive center fielders have come through. And
Benintendi in that mix, yeah. And
Benintendi was never a center fielder. I'm just talking specifically center field.
Oh, so just center field, yeah. Outfield. He was able to play center field though.
Benintendi sucks now. Benintendi should be traded at the trade deadline.
He can still play defense.
And not really. The bat was just atrocious. Unless you're playing Gold Glove defense like JBJ, you need a bat.
I think you're forgetting how great Andrew how
great he was in 2017 and 2018. It's been a ladder down since his rookie year. You need to be going up ever since your rookie year. He was basically in Rookie of the Year talks with Aaron Judge in 2017. And then ever since, it's been 2018 was a little bit worse. 2019 was significantly worse. And then 2020 was a dumpster fire. To the point where I had to fake an injury so I didn't have to play the rest of the season.
2018, you're forgetting he was able to hit very well during the postseason. He was probably one of our better hitters during the postseason.
Oh, no, 2018 was still a good year for him. 2017 was just that great. He was great coming off as a rookie in 2017.
I'm forgetting
2018 was just slightly worse than that.
What was his batting average during 2019?
Let me look it up real quick. But, yeah, do you think I'd say this really quick. Do you think either Alex Verdugo or Jarren Duran will be able to fill those shoes that comes with being a Boston center fielder?
I think Verdugo will. He seems to have a lot of good tools. He'll be at least a star player. He'll never fill the shoes of Mookie Betts, who they traded him for. But he'll be a solid, like a Xander Bogaerts level player, which could be good enough to be competitive as long as Rafael Devers regains his old form, and you have him alongside Xander Bogaerts to complement Alex Verdugo. They could have a solid core for a few years, and they could be competitive in the next couple of seasons.
All right, so you were right. Technically, he was a rookie in 2016, but he didn't have enough games to qualify to be Rookie of the Year. So 2017, he had a great year. You were right. 2018 was a little bit better all around than 2017, so he did make a jump up in 2018. But then 2019, every single category was statistically a lot lower. He went from a 290 batting average to a 266, and then 2020, he went down to a 103.
How many home runs for the 266?
During the 266, 13.
That's not bad.
That's not bad for what his play style is. I mean, in 2017 he had 20 homers. In 2018 he had 16, and then 2019 he had 13.
It's also worth noting that 2018 was a career year for everybody. And then 2019 was a with the exception of Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts, was just a dumpster fire for everybody as well.
Yeah, you're right. It was 2019. We don't talk about 2019. That never happened.
I'm so pissed about that year.
Mhm.
They could have easily won. They could have easily won 90 plus games if their bullpen was a little better. But
Yep.
they decided once Craig Kimbrell left that they just didn't want to do anything. Yeah, I can't. It felt like every single game they had a lead late. I just expected them to lose.
You're right. But let's get this wrapped up with one thing that I really liked from this week. See, we had this thing called we had Ari do Ari's takes for the longest time, and one thing, and I'm trying to kind of keep that going, but Ari's takes will never be replicated. I just like to talk about one thing that I like throughout the week, and the one thing this week is tonight we get to see a man who fought through a lot of adversity and a lot of surgeries come back and play a football playoff game. Alex Smith finally coming back, going 5-1 this season, and he gonna get spanked, but he's gonna be in a playoff game. It's gonna be sad watching the score be 42-3 come halftime, but it'll be fun.
It sucks that his final playoff game and final game will be against Tom Brady.
You think it's his final game? He
Final
still has one more
game,
year
right?
under contract with the football team.
What's that?
He still has one more year under contract.
Probably his final playoff game, at least.
But it's
I don't
looking
think
like
they're going back to the playoffs.
it's looking like, and this is just a rumor, he might get cut for Cam Newton, who might get a 2-year, $40 to $50 million contract from the football team.
You know what's another thing I also heard is that Alex Smith is rumored to. It's a possibility he could go
Nope,
to
don't even say it. Don't even say it.
the Patriots.
Don't even say it.
Why?
There
He
are
doesn't turn the ball over.
There are two options for the Patriots right now when it comes to QB. All right, 2, and that's it. Anything else is a failure.
All right, give him to me.
Matthew Stafford,
No,
Kyle Trask.
no.
Those are our two
no,
options. Yes, yes.
No, you don't go to the draft with this roster, especially
Yes, you
with
do.
Kyle Trask, and you don't.
Kyle Trask was a
you don't
Heisman
pick up
candidate.
Matthew Stafford, who's Mr. Mediocre,
What?
on.
Hold on. Okay, we're ending the episode. Nope. Okay, if you want to hear more bogus takes like that,
He has
go
no-
over to the Fumblerooski podcast.
It's all
That is
talent.
the worst take I've ever heard.
He is all talent. He is all talent. I'm not talking about his talent. His talent is otherworldly.
Yes, the roster around him was crap. You put a decent roster around him like the Patriots, with a lot of people coming back from opting out, he's going to be a playoff team.
When did we ever have Calvin Johnson, Kenny Galladay,
Julian Edelman's
T.J.
close enough.
Hawkinson?
Yeah, I
He
got
had
nothing
weapons.
for him.
The issue has been on the defensive side, and when he is surrounded with a solid team, they only finish. The best they've finished is 11-5.
Yeah, tell me, besides Galladay, what
Marvin Jones.
this year was Marvin Jones on the team this year?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about him.
T.J. Hawkinson.
See, I don't. Yeah, T.J. Hawkinson is always very good, but this season, why is it only showing me games? I want total.
It's because of the defense. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Is that when he has been surrounded by talent, when he has players on the defensive side of the ball, they do wind up making the playoffs. But it's the best it's been is 11-5.
Yeah, and he had 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions this year.
He said, "Yeah,
It's been pretty
talented
good.
player. I just think there's something wrong with him."
It's sad that his rookie year he had 13 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Damn. Yikes. But we'll wrap that up. Make sure you guys go check out the Fumblerooski podcast as always. Adam, you got anything else to say to the people before we sign off?
Go hit the follow button for Fumblerooski podcast. Go check us out.
Make sure
We'll
you
get
guys
more
do.
dumb takes, like he said.
Yeah, because he's not even the dumbest one on there. All right, y'all need to go meet Brian on that podcast. He needs to A, learn how to get a microphone, and B, get smarter.
I'll tell you what, you put three a-holes on a podcast together, and the result is shocking.
Yep. So, with that being said, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Roll that outro music. I will see you guys in the next one.
Stuck inside, won't you set me free? Yeah, and getting drunk at night, won't you let me be? Yeah, step out there, you cannot defeat. Yeah, yeah, what has gone too far, now it's quarantine. Yeah. Yeah, I'm learning guitar, what we got the time. Gonna be 4 months till we gonna see the sign. They can leave us without, let me share my doubts. When are we gonna leave with the dreams still young? The doctors in the front line, and I got her, even sometimes. Yeah, I got her, playing all night. I can talk first, count one times, yeah. And I'm really feeling bad, I do. And I'm really, really mad at you. And we really got a badass crew, Gonna see you soon. Yeah, we in a bad mood. Yeah. Stuck inside, won't you set me free? Yeah, and getting drunk at night, won't you let me be? Yeah, step out there, you cannot defeat. Yeah, yeah, what has gone too far, now it's quarantine.